just get stuck in, really. There's nothing to be nervous about. You'll be put in a really good team, everyone will support you, and it may be a bit nerve-wracking at first because you think you don't know what you're doing, but you will pick it up really quickly, and soon it'll be like you've been doing it forever.
Every Wednesday I come into college and I study, and I'm actually studying what I'm actually practicing the rest of the days of the week. So it gives you a sort of freedom as such. It gives you the work experience where you learn more practical skills to do with the job. At this stage I'm still quite early in my work life, but the contacts I've made there, it's definitely it's boosted my confidence and my ability to become a great accountant, I guess. Oh no, 100% would have taken this apprenticeship. I think for one, I mean, being paid to study, having the qualification and the study being paid for you, and not having a student debt, I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer for me. Well, I mean, the level 4 course it's a first year degree course, so it's not an easy course. You have got to do a lot of work outside of college as well. I mean, the day release, which I'm giving us, is really, the teachers here, they know what they're doing, and they're really helpful with, you know, supporting you if you need a little bit of extra attention. If you give them an email, they'll send you a bit of extra work, or if you're stuck on any questions, then you can email in and they'll get back to you quite rapidly.
All I'd advise for anyone that's thinking of doing an apprenticeship is just to do some research first and make sure you actually go into a good company, because admittedly there are some bad companies out there, but we've managed to find a company that really invests in your future and any training that you might need, and they'll, as long as it's deemed relevant to your career, they'll put you on any training course that you want to do.
I was going to say more like freedom, because at our job, even though we're specific to something we do, we've been given the opportunity to go around all the departments and learn the production line, if you want to call it.
My favourite part of the apprenticeship is actually in the work environment around the people in our tool room, because we're such a tight-knit team and we all get along so well, that it just makes it an easy environment to work and learn in.
Because you're starting out, you get a lot more help than obviously if you were to just go straight into it, obviously, because it's new. There's a lot of people looking out for you. Obviously you're coming in for a one day a week sort of work-based learning, so you're getting the extra, you know, you actually learn sort of more than sort of other people do, you know, doing that job. I think there's a lot of help for people who are struggling to decide what they want to do in life. So, you know, you take on an apprenticeship, you've got teachers who can help you, and also employers are more, you know, they're more there to sort of help you out. Fancy something different, you know, something that I hadn't done already, so trying a different skill, so a new skill set basically. Being older, I thought it was going to be quite difficult to get into an apprenticeship, but I actually found it quite easy. People sort of seem to prefer older apprentices to younger apprentices. I think, you know, I suppose it's sort of more profitable for younger ones, but where I've been, they seem to quite enjoy, you know, having an older apprentice. So yeah, just like I say, wanted to try something different.
Well, I've always looked into doing medical stuff, and obviously this is dental nursing, so you can interact with people and gain new experiences whilst earning money. I've become a lot more confident with people and being able to interact with others, and it's a whole new experience and it's really enjoyable. It involves passing the instruments, suctioning, which is making sure the patient doesn't essentially drown in water whilst we're doing treatment. and making sure the dentist is set up and has everything underhand if needed. Probably the earning money and being able to interact with people and experience situations that you wouldn't be in every day. In this one we help people a lot. If they come in with pain or things like that, we can satisfy their needs, which gives a good feeling. I go to work 4 days a week, starting in the morning around 9 o'clock and finishing at 5. And then Thursdays is my college day, so we come and as a group, I think there's about 17 of us, we learn together and it's a nice break during the week.
I got into the apprenticeship by meeting the company at a schools event, and it really amazed me all the different products they made. So now I am a test and verification engineer in my full-time placement. So I work on CCDs that are space devices that we sell to ESA, NASA, basically any space agency that are around. So I get the opportunity to get involved with the devices, the manufacture, the testing, talking to customers, writing reports. I've developed so many skills since joining, so my organisational skills have gone up massively, confidence around people, as well as obviously I'm learning on the job as well as at college. So I've now completed halfway through my second year of my HNC. I'm going on to complete my HND, and then I'll be finalising my degree at Grand University. My advice for anyone that wants to get into an apprenticeship is just get involved at careers events, contact companies, and also try and get self-work experience, because that's the first thing I did. I got in touch with my now manager Chris and I said, what can I do to understand what we do as a company? He said, come and do some work experience. And people I met along the way made me realise that obviously for me, ETV is where I wanted to work, and it was just the company, the work they do, I just really enjoyed it.
My favourite part of the apprenticeship is working in a team, because I really like working with my team members, and I think we all work together really well to produce the results and produce good.
Well, good evening and welcome to Colchester Institute, our virtual event here with regards to apprenticeships. My name is Amanda Drew and I am the Director of Apprenticeships here at Colchester Institute. Now, over the next 8 to 10 minutes, I'm going to be taking you through a little bit of a journey around apprenticeships, giving you some information to help you make some decisions around the apprenticeships and whether this is a potential option for you as a chosen career. So we just want to thank you for joining us this evening. Now, with regards to any questions, just if you can, just use the chat facility to pop some questions in there. At the end of my presentation, we will actually be doing some live Q&A, so do feel free to ask any questions. If your questions are more specific to a particular sector or a particular apprenticeship standard, then I would encourage you to just hold on to those questions and then take them into the Zoom rooms with you later when you go in to meet some of our team. But a little bit more about that later on. So first of all, what is an apprenticeship? An apprenticeship standard allows you to earn as you learn. Now, when you are employed as an apprentice, you are earning a real wage, and it is a real job as well. And you're gaining some real experience, and out of it all, you are going to get an apprenticeship qualification of some description. They are all so different. We have currently over 670 apprenticeship standards approved for delivery. So it's and each one looks and feels very different. So once you know what it is you want to do, and you go into our Zoom rooms a little bit later on, I know that the team will be able to help you to understand a little bit more about those different apprenticeship standards that we offer. Now, the great thing is with a real job is you are earning a real wage. Now, the apprenticeship wage starts at, or the salary starts at £4.30 per hour. Now, I can hear you saying, well, Amanda, that isn't very much. But what we encourage you to think of is often when you are starting with an employer as an apprentice, you are going in with often very little to no skills. So the employer will invest time in you, time in developing those skills, time in developing your knowledge, your practical skills, but also time in developing your behaviours. So it's really important that when you're thinking, oh, £4.30 isn't a lot, if you think of it that way, and often we find employers increase that salary very quickly, dependent on sort of like how you develop within that role. And we have lots of employers that pay way over the apprenticeship wage as well. So it's not set in stone, but the minimum wage of £4.30, that is set in stone. So why choose an apprenticeship? Like I say, you're earning a salary whilst you're doing a real job. You get paid holidays and other benefits in the same way as you would if you were being taken on as an employee. You will gain a variety of transferable skills, so working as part of a team, logical thinking, team building, communication skills, problem solving. These are all transferable skills that you will develop by being employed with an employer and by being part of a team. Now, the apprenticeship standards that you normally enter in onto often start around level 2 and level 3 if you're coming into an industry completely new with no experience at all. But once you've gone from a level 2 or a level 3 apprenticeship, you can then progress onto a higher or a degree apprenticeship. So a higher apprenticeship starts at around about what we would say is a level 4. Now, let me help you to just understand these levels. So a GCSE grade 4 or above is equivalent to a level 2. An A level is equivalent to a level 3. And the first year of a degree program, if you were going to go on to university, is the first is a level 4, and the second year is a level 5, and the third year is a level 6. Now, you can do apprenticeships from level 2 all the way up to a level 7 actually, which is actually a master's level. So you can do that as an apprenticeship. And the great thing is about a higher level and degree apprenticeships is that you don't have any debt because you don't pay anything towards it at all. Your employer and the government will fund your higher and degree apprenticeships. Now, if you're on here tonight and you're thinking or considering an apprenticeship as a route to maybe retrain or reskill, if you've got experience already in a particular sector, there would be no reason why you couldn't come on at a higher level in that sector. So it's not clear cut, as I would say. It's not a case of you must come on at level 2 and work your way through. Actually, the reality is you can step on and step off at any stage. It's just very much dependent on the apprenticeship standard that you're applying to actually carry out. So, as I said, there's a wide range of apprenticeship standards, over 600. You can become a qualified nurse, dentist, lawyer, all through the apprenticeship programs. And as I say, the great thing about that is that there's no cost to you at all. And there's no age limit on it neither. So whether you're here and considering and learning about an apprenticeship because you're in year 11 and just about to step out of school and are thinking of an apprenticeship, that is absolutely fine. But if you are older and you're thinking, like I said, you want to retrain, you want to reskill, there is no age limit whatsoever. So that is what we think is great news. The other thing is as well, is if you already have a degree that you maybe completed years ago, and for whatever reason, you know, it hasn't worked out, and you're thinking, I'd really like to retrain through the apprenticeship. The degree always used to, your previous degree would have held you back, but that's no longer the case. As long as you're studying something or undertaking a degree or a high level qualification or any level qualification that's completely different to the degree that you've got, that's absolutely fine. So, what can you expect from Colchester Institute? Well, we will give you some help and support in securing an employer if you don't have one already. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit further on. If you do have an employer currently and you're thinking, well, actually, what do I do now? The best thing for you to do now is to go over to our website. You can apply to do an apprenticeship. If you fill in that application form, it will ask for your employer's details. It's really important that you put your employer details on there, because what we will need to do is to make contact with your employer to make sure that the opportunities that they have available for you to do as an apprentice are in line with the apprenticeship standard. So we would need to have a conversation with your employer. We'd need to look at your job description as well and check that, you know, that you're going to be able to, or that you'll be exposed to all of the knowledge, skills and behaviours that are part of that apprenticeship standard. Now, we will also ensure that your employer offers you a contract of employment. As I say, this is a real job, and we will check and make sure that your employer has given you a contract that covers the whole duration of your apprenticeship standard. So we will support you if you haven't got a contract, and we will definitely communicate with the employer to make sure we get that in place. We will also ask you prior to enrolling onto the apprenticeship to carry out what we call an initial assessment. Now, the initial assessment is there to enable us to better understand your starting points. So if you are starting sort of like with us and you have any learning difficulties or any challenges that might cause barriers to your learning, we want to identify what those are right at the beginning, just so that the plan that we put in place is bespoke to you, and it isn't necessarily about bringing you into a whole group and treating you all the same. We recognise that, you know, with the apprenticeship, you won't be, not all apprentices are exactly the same, and our initial assessment will help us to do that. Something else that you need to be aware of as well is just with regards to some of the apprenticeship standards that we offer, there is an entry criteria to be able to get onto that apprenticeship, and that criteria is in relation to maths and English. Some of our sort of more construction type apprenticeships like plumbing and electrical, you do need to have a grade 4 or above in maths and English to be able to enrol onto that programme, as well as having an employer. But if you want to know more information about that, then just ask when you go into your Zoom rooms. Ask about, what is the entry criteria for me to be able to access this apprenticeship standard? Because as I say, they are all different. You will, as I said before, you will be paid for what we call on-the-job and off-the-job learning. So you could be working up to 40 hours a week if you're 16 to 18, anything from 16 to 40 hours a week. And if you're over the age of 19 and over, you may even be working longer hours than that. Now, whatever happens, 80% of your paid work that you do, you'll be learning on the job. You'll be working with supervisors and people that are going to train you, that you can shadow and you can watch and you can learn on the job. And 20% of the time, you'll be learning off the job. Now, with off the job learning, that may be through a day release onto one of our campuses. It may be through our trainers or our tutors coming and visiting you in the work placement. It may even be that you're doing some virtual learning and coming online. You might be doing it at work, but you could equally be doing your off-the-job learning at home. That's up to you and your employer to agree, obviously if there's no day release, how you're going to get that off-the-job time to maybe do some assignments or to gather some evidence. But we will work with you to make sure that you're given that time. And the other great thing about that is as well, is that you are paid for both on-the-job learning and off-the-job learning. We will come and visit you in the work placement as well. We'll carry out what we call progress reviews. That's to see how you're progressing. We'll look at how you're progressing against the knowledge, skills and behaviours that are set out in the standard. We may carry out some observations of you. We will speak with your employer. We will look at evidence that you have gathered to demonstrate to us the type of work that you're doing. So we would do that, and you may see us anything from once a month to once every 6 to 8 weeks, where we would come and visit you in the workplace. Now, if you didn't get your maths and English, it isn't a barrier. There's two things. First of all, if you need the maths and English at level 2 or that grade 4 or above, or an old language grade C and above, and you haven't got it yet, we can do what we call functional skills, and we can try to do them prior for those of you that may be older, that maybe didn't get those grades, and you're thinking, well, actually I want to start in September, how do I get them? We are offering at the moment what we call standalone functional skills sessions. If you want to know more about that, I just encourage you to go to the General Apprenticeship Zoom room and have a chat with them in there, and they'll be able to share a little bit of information with you about that. But if you haven't got the Maths and English and the Apprenticeship Standard that you're on doesn't dictate that you have to have it, then the great news is that you can do your Maths and English alongside your apprenticeship. Do be aware though, it is in addition to the 20% off the job learning. So you will need to be doing a bit of a above and beyond with the Maths and English. But by the end of your apprenticeship, for you to successfully achieve it, you have to have achieved Maths and English at level 2 or above, or already hold a GCSE grade C or above, or a grade 4 and above. We will give you advice all the way through your program, and we will try and inspire you as to next steps, what you can go on to do. We'll work with your employer to help to see if there's some opportunities with the employer for you to progress and go on to those higher levels that I mentioned earlier. So the whole way through your apprenticeship program, we will be here to support you and to help you in any way that we can. We will also ask you for feedback. Your feedback is so important to us, and that feedback is what helps us to develop our programs and our standards that we offer. So we will ask you for formal feedback by way of survey, but there might be other times when we just ask you as part of your sessions, how is it going? What's going well? And what isn't going so well? And is there anything that we need to do better? Because that's really important to us, that we are able to give you the opportunity to share that feedback. So, how can you secure employment? If you don't have employment already, you can't be an apprentice until you're employed. So the first thing that we would encourage you to do, if you don't have an employer, is to visit our Colchester Institute website. If you click onto apprenticeships and then click latest apprenticeship vacancies, you will actually see all of our apprenticeships listed by sector. So if you know that you want to be to go into childcare, then you can just click the early years button on there, and then that will give you all of our employers that are working with us who are seeking to employ an apprentice. If you're not sure what you want to do, I would encourage you to just have a look through all of them. Be inspired by some of the job vacancies. Some of them are really exciting out there, and it gives you opportunities about, you know, next step, and shows you what you can go on to do. And we're always here as well, so you know, you can always ask us, come back to us at any time via the website and ask us any questions. Put in an application and then you'll get an interview as well. So once you've found a vacancy, you can then sign in to the Find an Apprenticeship website and apply for that vacancy. Now, little tip. when you do that online application, just some advice. We pass those applications on to the employer. So please do consider the grammar that you're using, your spelling that you're putting in there. Try and use it as an opportunity for you to sell yourself on that application. And if an employer has actually put some questions on there, you'll often find there is no word limit or word count on there. So use those opportunities to share as much as you can about yourself. All of that will help as the employer sifts through what can be sometimes, quite a large amount of applications that come in. And once you've done that, you just sit back and hopefully wait for the employer to make contact with you. Now, we encourage all of our employers to make contact with all applicants and give them some advice, even if they haven't been shortlisted. But unfortunately, not all employers will do that. So if you don't hear anything back by a date which was on the closing date for it, it may be that you haven't been successful. So keep on applying. I just want to say at this point as well, if you are, I don't know, you've got an idea of what you want to do plumbing, but you haven't got an employer. At this stage, we would encourage you to do what we would call a joint application. Now, what that means is that you will be applying for a full-time course as well as for the apprenticeship course. Now, over the next few months, as you continue to look for an apprenticeship opportunity, if one doesn't come up, the great thing is that you've still got your full-time place to start in September. Now, if you do get a vacancy and you're successful in finding employment, that's fine. We just let the full-time place go. Sometimes what happens is students start with us on a full-time program, and within a few months, you've been able to successfully source yourself an employer who is willing to take you on, and you are able to do that. So by doing the joint application, you really are securing a place for September. But as I say, it leaves the door open to you to keep applying for apprenticeship opportunities. So our website is a great place for lots of information. But there's nobody better to hear about their experience of an apprenticeship and the journey that they've been on than apprentices themselves. So we would encourage you after tonight's event to go and have a look on our website and look at some of the case studies, hear my story, look at some of the case studies on there and be inspired by some of the journeys that some of our apprentices have been on as part of their learning and development and reaching their aspirations for their own career. Now, I promised that we would take some questions if we have any. So at this point, I'm just going to ask Olivia, who's with us here in the room, my colleague, whether we have any questions.
Yep, so the first question we have for you, Amanda, is how long will an apprenticeship usually last?
Okay, great question. So often what we find is the higher the level of apprenticeship, the longer it's going to take. So I mentioned previously about a level 2, it's been equivalent to a GCSE, a level 3, a level 4, a level 4 equivalent to the first year of a degree, level 5, level 6 and level 7. Now it will all depend on how much experience you come in with and what level you are doing. What I will say is that our shortest apprenticeship that you can do is in about 12 months, so in 1 year. You can't do anything in less than a year, so you have to be on programme as an apprentice for 1 year. And some of the longest times that you could do for apprenticeship, the longest duration, is probably about 4 years. And if you've been on a break in learning or anything like that as part of your apprenticeship programme, if you've been unwell or, you might even find it pushes into 5 years. But generally, we're often talking about the higher level apprenticeships then.
Perfect. And the next question we have is, do you have to start at a level 2 or level 3 apprenticeship, or can you start at a higher level?
Another great question. So this will all depend on your past experiences. So if you, let's take for example, you want to do a management apprenticeship. if you have been in a job where you've had very little experience of management, then part of the application and the interview process is that we'll try and gauge your previous and current experience. Now, if we feel that you've come to us with quite a lot of experience, it might be that we decide to put you straight onto a level 5, remembering that's the second year of a degree. Now, it will depend on the job role, because the level 5 is about being an operational manager. So you have to be able to do or to fulfill the knowledge, skills and behaviours that are actually laid out in the standard. Now, if you come to us and you've not got a lot of experience of team leading, it might be that we actually say, do you know what, let's start at the level 3. Start at level 3, gather some experience as you're going, and also often the level 3 role is easier to fit into and to fit into a job role than the level 5 is. So what you might do is come to us, go straight in at the level 3, and then progress on from a level 3 onto a level 5. You wouldn't have to do a level 4. This is the other great thing about apprenticeships.
And the next question we have is, how old do I have to be to start an apprenticeship?
Okay, you have to have formally left school. Okay, so it always used to be, and I'm not sure if it's different this year, but it always used to be the last Friday in June was the official leaving date that you left school. Now, whether that's the same or whether COVID has had an impact on that, we're not sure. But as long as you have officially left school, you can start your journey on an apprenticeship. And there's, as I said in the presentation, there's no age limit. So I think our oldest apprentice currently is probably 61, but we have had somebody who started an apprenticeship at 65 because they wanted to do something new as part of their retirement. So they were working and did an apprenticeship that way.
Perfect. And our final question is there a minimum number of hours an apprentice must work per week?
Yeah, so how it works is the minimum number of hours or the lowest number of hours you do in an apprenticeship, then the longer that apprenticeship is going to take. Okay, so it does go hand in hand. Minimum hours are 16. Okay, but if you're on an apprenticeship and you're only working 16 hours a week, if that apprenticeship full time could be done in 15 months and you're only doing 16 hours a week, it's likely that it could take you up to 30 months to achieve. So you can do an apprenticeship in 16 hours a week, but what you have to remember is that your experience, that your development of your knowledge and your skills and your behaviours isn't gaining or growing as quick as they would be if you were in full time. So a minimum of 16 hours a week, but we would have to look at, as I say, really look at planning your journey very carefully if you were on an apprenticeship for that short duration or small duration.
Perfect. Yeah, they're all the
That's
questions.
it. Lovely. Well, thank you so much. So what's going to happen now? We are going to encourage you to go and meet with our teams. Each of our Zoom rooms, the link's just been put on the chat there, so you can go into any of those rooms. You will find our technical experts in there waiting to talk to you. They will be able to answer hopefully all of those questions and give you a little bit more information than I've been able to do tonight. Tonight's been quite general from me, so they can give you really specific sector advice in those Zoom rooms. We're here until 7 o'clock. So please do feel free to jump between rooms and go and see some different people. We have our general apprenticeship session as well going on. So if you're not sure what you want to do or you want some advice or anything like that, go in and say hello to them. I'm sure they'll be open to helping you. The other thing is just to let you know is obviously we've used our chat facility for the questions. We will continue to answer any questions that are coming up on that facility over the next 10 to 15 minutes. And if you want to give us any feedback on tonight's event, or if you have any questions that you didn't get answered, you can just drop us an email at events@colchester.ac.uk. Now that brings us to the end of this information session. Thank you for joining us. We've loved journeying this very short period of time with you, and we can't wait to see you enrol onto an apprenticeship here with Colchester Institute. So thank you very much. Goodbye.